off a skirt, let her wear my shirt before she leave. I'ma need my shirt back.
Hi everyone, we are from Group 4 and today we can explain about fiction. Let's check this out! Fiction is a branch of literature that deals in whole or in part with temporal counterfactuals, even that are not true at the time of writing. In contrast, some non-fiction books deal exclusively with actual events. A novel can be defined as any literary narrative, whether prose or poetry, that is fictional rather than a representation of what actually happened. First, novel. Novel is a written and narrative prose fiction work. We can find many genres of novels such as science fiction, horror, mystery, etc. Second, short story. Short story is a form of fictional narrative prose that tends to be dense and direct to its purpose. Unlike novels, short stories don't have chapters in their forms. The last is roman. Roman is a fictional story or fiction that describes the chronicle of the lives of the characters in detail and depth. In Roman stories, the life depicted is not just a fragment of life events, but starts from birth to adulthood. Roman is a kind of literary work in the form of prose or chorus whose contents describe the action of the perpetrators, according to the character and content of each soul. While the novel is a work of prose fiction written in a narrative, usually in the form of stories. There are some elements in fiction. First is character or arts. A character is a depiction of a person in a work of narrative or dramatic art, such as a novel, play, or film. Since the late 18th century, the term role has been used to describe the effective imitation of an actor. Since the 19th century, the art of character building, as practiced by actors or writing, is known as characterization. Characters that represent a certain class or group of people are called types. Types include normal characters and more fully personalized characters.
Plot. In fiction, a plot is a series of interrelated events arranged to form a logical pattern and achieve a desired purpose. There are plot structure. A. Showing is often the beginning of action, an introduction to characters and settings. B. Conflict are actual or perceived opposition of needs, values, and interests. Conflict can be internal or external. C. Rising plot in fiction creates suspense and lead to organs. D. The climax. The most intense moment, the turning point, the climax of the event. The climax is not always the first important scene in the story. In many stories, this is the last sentence. E. The pole action is the climactic part of the story, shows the impact of the climax. It will lead to resolution or disaster. 12. F. Denouement, to dissolve, etymologically from the Old French word tenor, to loosen, and from the Latin nodus meaning knot. In a novel, the ending consists of series of events. Settings. In fiction, the setting includes the time, place, setting, and characters of the story, and provides the main context and mood for the story. The setting is called the story, world, or environment to include context, especially society. Outside the story's surroundings, setting items can include culture, historical period, geography, and time. Role of setting. The setting can play a key role in the plot, such as a story between man and nature or man and society. In some stories, attitude types of setting. There are many different types of setting. A. Natural settings first. The setting in a piece of fiction frequently serves as little more than a reminder that events must take place somewhere. B. The context of religion. The expectation that rural environments evoke it as imply that view environments are completely natural change view. Environments are purely psychical. Part them. Works them is a big idea, statement, or lesson that is tries to get over. The message could be about life, society, or the nature of people. Them frequently examine eternal and enduring concept, and maybe in word rather than addresses outright. One of the core elements of fiction is them, along with story, character, setting, and style. The message itself is essentially how writers in literary works transit usable or beneficial.
Style. In fiction, style is the manner in which the author tells the story, along with plot, character, theme, and setting. Style is considered one of the fundamental components of fiction. Some components of style in fiction include the use of various literary techniques. They are first, fiction writing modes. Fiction is a form of narrative, one of the four rhetorical modes of discourse. Fiction writing also has discrete forms of expression or modes, in which each of them has its own purpose and confession. Again, an author, Evan Marshall, identifies five fiction writing modes: action, summary, dialogue, feelings, and background. Author and writing instructor Jessica Page Morrell lists six delivery modes for fiction writing: action, exposition, description, dialogue, summary, and transition. Author Peter Selgin refers to methods including action, dialogues, talks, summary, scene, and description. Currently, there is no consensus within the writing community regarding the number and complexity of fiction writing modes and their use. Second, narrator. The narrator is the teller of the story. The narrator, one who is doing the mouth work, or its in print equivalent. A writer is faced with many choices regarding the narrator of a story: first-person narrative, third-person narrative, unreliable narrator, stream of consciousness writing. A narrator may be either obtrusive or unobtrusive, depending on the author's instinct relationship between himself, the narrator, the point of view, character, and the reader. Third, point of view. Point of view is from whose consequences the reader hears, sees, and feels the story, signifies the way a story gets told, the mode established by an author by means of which the reader is present with the characters, dialogue, action, setting, and events. It constitutes the narrative in a work of fiction, including characters, dialogue, action, setting, and events, which constitute the narrative in a work of fiction. Fourth, allegory. Allegory is a work of fiction in which the symbols, characters, and events come to representation in somehow point-by-point fashion, a different metaphysical, political, or social situation. 5. Symbolism. Symbolism refers to any object or person which represents something else. Allegory is the representation of ideas or principles by characters, figures, or events in a story. 6. Tone. Tone refers to the attitude that a story creates toward its subject matter. Tone may be formal, informal, intimate, solemn, somber, playful, serious, ironic, condescending, or many others possible attitudes. Tone is sometimes referred to as mood that the author establishes within the story. 7. Imagery. Imagery is used in fiction to refer to descriptive language, the evokes sensory of expressions. Imagery has many variants, such as metaphors and similes. The next is function. Function is everything in written language other than the actual letters or numbers, including punctuation marks, interword space, and indentation. The next is word choice. Diction in its original, primary meaning refers to writers or the speaker's distinctive vocabulary, choice, and style of expression. Literally, diction analysis reveals how the passage establishes tone and characterizations. For example, a preponderance of verb relating physical movement suggests an active character, while a preponderance of verbs relating states of mind portrays an introspective character. 10 is grammar in linguistics. Grammar refers to the logical and structural rules that govern the compositions of sentence, parts, and words in any given natural language. Grammar also refers to the study of such rules. This field includes morphology and syntax, often complemented by phonetics, phonology, semantics, and pragmatics. The next is imagination. Imagination, also called the faculty of imagining, is the ability to form mental image, sensations, and concepts in a moment when they are perceived, thought, sight, hearing, or other sense. And then next is cohesion. Cohesion is the grammatical and lexical relations within a text or sentence. Cohesion can be defined as the links that hold a text together and give it meanings. And substance of this belief is the reader's temporary acceptance of story elements as believers, regardless of how improbable they might seem in the real life. And then voice. In grammar, the voice, also called the thesis of a word, describes the relationships between the action or state that the verb expresses and the participants identified by its argument, subject, object, and then when the subject is the agent or actor of the verb is in the active voice. When the subject is the patient, target, or undergoer of the action, is said to be in passive voice. The last is show, don't tell. Show, don't tell is an admonition to fiction writers to write in a manner that allows the reader to experience the story through a character's action, words, thoughts, sense, and feelings, rather than through the narrator's exposition, summarization, and descriptions.
Skirt, let her wear my shirt before she leave. I'ma need my shirt back. Nigga, you know how.